Do we all have a guardian angel, spiritual guides who have our interests at heart? It seems almost unbelievable. It's certainly something I didn't believe in, certainly in my earlier years. And then, when I was 40 years of age, something happened which was to change all that. At that time, I was an Antarctic expeditioner, living on Macquarie Island for 12 months. And whilst there, I used to go hiking down the island alone. This meant leaving the base camp and making my way to various little isolated huts down on the coast, and often would take a few hours of walking, sometimes the best part of a day. And on this particular instance, I set out alone and trudged all the way from the base camp, first of all to a place called Sandy Camp, and then leaving Sandy Camp, from there, in the early hours of the morning, about 2 o'clock in the morning, I started the long, long walk to a place called Lusitania Bay. But on the way, I got lost. And by the time it got into the late evening, I felt that I was in dire straits. If I didn't find that hut by nightfall, with the wind coming up and the wind factor, I wouldn't survive the night. So I decided that I would hurry to the location. I eventually figured out where I was, and all I had to do was descend this fast-flowing mountain stream to get me to the coast, and then I could turn a little bit to the south, and there would be the hut and safety. As I was coming along the creek side, I would jump from one side of the creek to the other because it was fairly narrow, little waterfalls here and there. I got to this place on the right-hand side of the creek where there was a rock. The rock was about 5 feet high. And I knew that from there I could jump across to the other side of the creek, which wasn't that far away. So I jumped. And I didn't land where I expected to. Well, I did land exactly where I expected to, but I thought the ground would be solid. It wasn't. I sunk up to midway to my thighs in mud. Well, the mud was very deep, and I thought, well, I can get out of here, and I went to move to get out, and I couldn't get out. I couldn't move. The more I struggled, the deeper I seemed to sink. And I was starting to get very apprehensive. How could I get out? I couldn't reach the rock behind me from which I'd jumped. That was out of reach. It would have been too smooth to climb anyway. There was nothing else within reach. What could I do? Panic started to swell up in me. And then I thought, I'm not going to get out of this. And I got angry and I got denial. Why am I here? What's happening to me? Why is this happening to me? And all of these thoughts which went through my head. And then I started to feel sorry for myself. And then I started to plead. And then I started to pray. And then I surrendered. There was no way I was going to get out of this fix. I would be dead within a few hours. By the morning, I would be dead. I was certain of this. Even as I was thinking this, the skewer gulls began to gather on the rocks around me. They seemed to sense that I was in mortal danger, and that once I died, they'd be able to eat me. I'd seen what these skewers could do to seals, strip down 3-ton elephant seals in one night to a skeleton, and I could imagine myself being nothing but a skeleton in winter clothing by the following day. But as I said, I surrendered. And when I surrendered, an enormous peace came over me, an uncanny peace, a stillness. My mind stopped working. The fear gave way to acceptance. There was a long period of silence, and I started to think to myself, the only thoughts which welled up were, I'm going to miss my family and my family are going to miss me. They were the thoughts, and more silence. And then I heard the words. No one else spoke them. They came from somewhere within me, but I didn't vocalize those words. The words just said, spread the weight. Spread the weight. And I knew exactly what that meant. Because on my back, I had a huge backpack on a aluminium frame. It was quite heavy. So I took this off my back and put it in front of me. And then I leaned forward into it. And then I thought, how can I spread the weight even more? So I unzipped my parka and spread it out, and gripping the edges, laid that out on top of the mud. And with my bearded chin almost in the mud, or well, it was in the mud, I then leaned forward, putting my weight onto my backpack frame, and pulled with all my might, just the one leg. And it came up just a little bit, just a little bit. Then the other leg, then the first leg again, and then the other leg, until I found myself almost doing a sort of a dog paddle in this heavy mud, until I reached the side where I could grab this thicket grass, tussock grass, which I knew I could pull myself out of the bog with. And this I did. And I got out. And there were other adventures after that before I found the cabin. But that would take a little bit too long to tell at this stage. But this much I do know. I had a guardian angel who spoke those words to me, spread the weight. And I think that all of us have guardian angels and spiritual guides if we just quiet our minds enough to listen to them, because they do have our interests at heart. They are looking after us. They are our guardian angels.